Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to this fireside chat on a topic that's so close to the C-suite executive's heart who we talk to all the time. How do I become an intelligent, data-driven organization that can capitalize on all of the digital and AI opportunities lying in front of me? We're going to explore this topic from the lens of an organization that's reinventing itself with data with the help of two technology companies, Intellias and AWS. Before we get started, I'd love to introduce you to the group of esteemed panel members that I have with me here today.
I'm Luc van den Broek. I'm the CTO at GBG. I oversee all of our engineering, which includes this wonderful data project that we are talking about today.
And what does your organization do?
GBG provides services in identity onboarding, so that's things like KYC and AML for regulated use case, as well as location services. And very recently, we have launched our new flagship platform called Go. That's unifying 85 plus different services and products that we've had into one platform. So it's easy to use in one place for our customers so they can access this for all their KYC, AML and location needs globally.
Eugene, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Evgeny Eugene Berko. I'm from Intellias. I drive the technology expertise in the company. I work with clients to realize their ambition using technology. And I've been involved in this project from the technical standpoint.
Welcome. And last but not least, Patrick.
Hi, so Patrick Allen. I am part of the AWS Global Data Strategy team. My role is to help companies align their data strategy with their business priorities.
Welcome, gentlemen. I'm Archana Venkatraman. I am part of IDC, a market intelligence company, and I head up our European research on all things data management and digital operations. Before I open it up, I just want to share some of our observations from IDC's point of view. What we're beginning to see is that AI is pretty much everywhere for everything, whilst at the same time, there is something that divides organizations that actually get it versus those that are stuck in what we call a POC prison. It's very much boils down to data. How organizations have a data transformation strategy is what defines their success in the AI world. Our research shows is that 80% of organizations are going to increase their investments in data products and technologies to transform themselves to make sure that they are capitalizing on the new opportunities. And within this, 50% of organizations are going to increase their spend, particularly on that intelligence layer, whether it's data quality, whether it's unifying all of the data and breaking down the silos, or just improving their governance and trust around it. So let's get into Luc's story. Luc, so tell us a little bit about GBG and what was the catalyst behind you trying to reinvent yourself with data?
GBG does a lot in identity onboarding and location intelligence services. We use data to recognize people, verify people, trust people, and locations as well. Although we had a very long history of using data for our products and services, the intelligence extracting that from the transactions that we see, from all the information going through our systems, we hadn't really delved too deep into that yet. We want to be proactive. We want to help our customers to understand more about what they do with us, but also what they do as a business. And that really comes from intelligence over data. We have so much data going through it. How do we capitalize on that? How do we use more of it? And that's how this project was kind of born.
How powerful. Patrick, do you see this charter of being proactive with data as a common theme across many customers, or are they unique?
They're a little unique, to be fair. I think customers are struggling to find out where they can create momentum with data. There's a lot of challenges with data silos, governance, data quality. A lot of organizations are trying to get that helping hand. A lot of companies can get stuck in that paralysis of, we need our data quality right, and we need the governance layer, or we need to break down some of these silos, but they lose then the momentum of actually moving forward and taking those practical steps to create value. That creating momentum is a big differentiator in what we're seeing between companies who are successful and not.
Sounds like more of an art than a science, right? Like balancing act between resilience and innovation and getting those priorities right.
Technology is a big part of that, but it's also the culture and the mindset. How are we going to move forward? How are we going to be proactive?
We absolutely had very similar conversations about data quality first and all those other bits. So yeah, it sounds very familiar.
And maybe if we start with your program of your data transformation, where did you start and what does it look like?
So we have a very ambitious project here. We're taking a year to really up our game. The focus, I like to think of it as breaking down into 4 areas. One is a capability. Creation of a data platform, a data capability that doesn't just uplift what we have right in front of us as a use case, but ultimately is something for our whole organization to use. We're now creating tools as a platform to do that, which is a great sort of foundational capability, but it needs to be actionable. For the organization to be behind this, we need to see some value. So the next layer up is getting some basics out there. What are the quick wins that we get by just having smart people look at the things that we already have? And then we really set out to think about what is the unique selling point here? What can we tell a customer that they don't know yet? Because they have access to all their own data. If they get smart people to look at that, they can figure out most of these things. What we can tell them that no one else can is how are their peers doing. So for us, the USP is being able to very quickly show customers how they can have better performance with our products and services based off of like-for-like companies in similar sectors, areas, countries, and then ultimately step that up to make that actionable. And for us, actionable is recommendations. So recommendations that are easy to consume, where if you follow those, you will follow best practice. You will have a better performance and outcome with our products and services. But actually what we're seeing is the next step going where those recommendations are starting to tell companies a bit about what they do. So for example, how they collect information about their customers and where they could improve that to just have generally better data, not just with us, but just in general for their own systems as well. So it's a really layered approach to it.
Okay, interesting. Eugene, you have worked with Luke and his team for quite a long time from the start of this project. Could you describe a little bit about the before state?
Oh, sure. So GBG is growing fast, both organically and inorganically. For those of you who worked with the companies that went through a major M&A processes, you understand that there is both business and organizational challenges, but also technology challenges. Because you inevitably end up with a duplicated landscape of enterprise applications. You have multiple ERPs, you have multiple CRMs, but I think for ISVs, independent software vendors, there's a new layer of challenges because also the product line is duplicated. That means that your clients can use different products in the same geography, the same product in different geographies, and that really leads to a fragmented customer experience. And that again leads to a number of other problems. You cannot really evaluate products' performance consistently, you cannot do a proper benchmarking. That is a challenge that GBG wanted to fix. GBG already had a grand vision on how to achieve that. They started a POC, but they needed a partner that would help them, finish the design of the program, bring it to scale. And I think scale is super important here. It's a very different thing when you have a smaller scale and more of a tactical set of problems compared to multiple different companies being integrated. That again, it's a very different level of complexity.
Fantastic. Let's validate that with you. So in your team, do you see that passion percolate through different team members?
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of passion, not just on the technical team, but we have people in the go-to-market teams really reaching out and saying, hey, I want more of this, or can we use it for some other use case that I have? And actually they are wanting to go faster into different areas than we thought. But it's actually also the other teams where we're seeing similar things, where if you think of someone in finance who has data everywhere, they don't have the comprehensiveness of capability or the insight or the people to do a lot with them. By having a program like this and involving them, people get really passionate for their domain, and that really helps cement the program in the whole business and drives it forward, and you have more champions because of it, basically.
I wanted to pick both your brains on data maturity assessment. What are the different layers you assess to identify where the customer is and what the journey forward looks like?
First, we try to understand where the client is, what the ambition is, and then we kind of formulate, hypotheses, like what would work, what would not work, and then we test those hypotheses as we go. In this way, we can be more proactive, provide work in an incremental way. We focused on the what we call backbone use cases, which are the use cases that provide the most business value, and we implement those and we learn from that. You have people trying products, loving it, and then all of a sudden, there's this all hype of people say, hey, when's the next release, when you'll add new things. So yeah, I think this is super important.
Patrick, from your point of view?
Yes, as part of my team, we run a couple of different programs. One is data strategy, we call it diagnostic. And within that, we look really around 4 different pillars. One is culture and mindset. And that's particularly important because if the company is not being proactive and thinking about wanting to be more data driven and have that motivation, that culture needs to be nurtured, and we need to create enthusiasm at that kind of executive layer or that leadership layer. So we have mindset and we have people and we have process. Now, people is in terms of skills, in terms of motivation, incentivization, again, that enthusiasm, that's a very critical part. Any part of a transformation needs people to be behind it. And then we think about process. A lot of what's happening now needs to change the actual operating model. Right? We think about data as an asset for the company, but it's not just in one pocket, right? It's at every single layer and it's everybody touches it. So how do we start to create processes that take data from the first port of call where it's entered all the way through to the insights and actions, recommendations? And then lastly, of the 4 pillars, there's technology. So where do you see yourself in terms of platform, in terms of data quality, governance? But we think of it holistically. We say, if you're not putting the right amount of resources and effort into each of these areas, then you're going to fall off somewhere. So that's how we think about the journey. And within our team, we focus on assessments to look at companies and say, well, how are you working with data, and how that journey is going to be for yourselves to become more data driven. And then we have another program called Data Driven Everything, which helps them actually think about what are the use cases, how to create that momentum, how to change the foundations within their business, but also then how to incentivize both leaders and users of that data as well.
About this whole program, one of the biggest standouts of it is that balancing act of creating a data platform that does things like governance, lineage, data quality. But I always say just having a platform doesn't do much. If you have a nice shiny platform but you're not using it, it's great, but no one's going to thank you for that. You need to balance that creation of what is foundational capability with the exciting stuff that you do on top of a platform without going too fast on one or the other. And I think this is really a program in which we've actually managed to thread that needle quite well, where whilst we're not completely ready with everything, people in the business are coming back to us and say, hey, could you add this, could you add that? And that's the sort of feedback that you want to then have a healthy program. So I think that's one of the standouts for me.
One thing that's very interesting, we see data strategy in 2 different places. One is internally within the company. So you think about your sales, your marketing, your processes, and your people, and thinking about how to improve that and go on a data-driven journey within the organization itself. But more importantly sometimes is, how do you deliver products and platforms that make your customers more data driven? We're always trying to help our customers improve their data problems, become more data driven, see insights in their data. So there's 2 different aspects of that can be really quite interesting. The internal view of data strategy and helping our customers create that data strategy as well.
I think the second part really revamps the whole relationship between you and the client, because it's more of a different level of partnership when you provide insight into their business.
That's how IDC defines an intelligent organization as well. How are you finding those opportunities, like revenue driving opportunities, and helping your customers grow their business as well? So from your point of view, what was those cultural success factors, you would say? Is it like a top-down approach? You need multiple stakeholders involved. What would you attribute that down to?
The cultural success factors for us, get people that are excited about it, is probably the biggest one. And that excitement breeds this sort of flywheel effect. And that created sort of the culture that the rest of GBG now looks at it and goes like, I see a bunch of very, very invested people that talk about this with so much passion, and that sort of breeds that culture that we have. The other big thing, we deal a lot with PII, personal identifiable information. So we have a very high bar for privacy and regular security. Bringing those team in early and throughout the whole process also means that they're champions now of what we're doing, rather than hurdles we have to take as we try to do more and new things.
I love that idea of infectious energy and excitement. This idea of trust and governance as like infused in the platform from the beginning, not as an afterthought, is quite important.
It's always, great to, monitor for those things, to think about new ways how these new technologies can help, clients get a competitive edge. So again, very passionate about those things, and passion does matter in engineering.
Fantastic. Patrick, do you think some organizations are over-rotating on one side, say, innovation, and some completely on this resilience and security? So how do they strike that balance?
I think it depends on the company. All companies have different priorities when it comes to trust and governance. The more you can share your data to the people who can use it to create those insights, it's just about how to enable people to see what they can do with the data. If we're thinking about data-driven organizations, it really is throughout the organization. It's not just for business intelligence or analysts at that level.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a great nugget there. Data is everyone's responsibility. If we just shift gears to talk a little bit about the benefits, right? So you mentioned quick wins. So can you talk a little bit about what has your organization seen, and were there any surprise benefits?
I mean, so how do you incentivize good behavior? Well, for those working directly with customers, is actually improving how they can do that very quickly. So when we fully dialed in sort of the analytics, alerting and triggering sort of pipeline on some very basic metrics, we were able to alert account managers to certain behaviors that we were seeing in transaction patterns that we hadn't seen before. And we found, for example, one customer where they were having a pen test going on, and by mistake, they were doing that against their production environment, which showed up as fraudulent attack that we detected. We proactively reached out to that customer, and that account was not growing, not moving much. That has really changed now into a growth opportunity, interested in more products and services that we have. So there's now an active conversation there with that customer about what more can we do for you. Getting that pipeline dialed in of the usability that everyone in the business has access to that data, gets alerted proactively for the things that they're interested in, to then drill that in and say, okay, pick up the phone, go reach out immediately. That begets results. So what sounds very basic is a great result driver, and that whole team in the US, they're all now completely on it. They do this every day. Other wins that we're seeing is new product launch, things that we already had in the pipeline where now with the power of recommendations, we can really pinpoint for a customer. They can actually see, well, if I take this from you, this new product to uplift my identity onboarding experience, how much percentage points improvement can I actually expect to what sort of population in what areas? And that's a very powerful tool to sort of showcase the value of something new that we're bringing. We always believed that we would start investing not just in our existing customers, but also prospecting, targeting growth opportunities. But we hadn't put a lot of work into that use case yet. There was always something later down the line. We see teams within GBG already picking up from what they have available through the platform now in terms of recommendations and peering and clustering techniques, where they go out and say, these are our growth targets, these are our next targets to go and hunt for these to become customers of ours, because we know what works to such a deep degree now from similar customers that we have, similar segments, and it's already being used that way before we even got to that from a project use case perspective. So we're accelerating a bit faster than we actually thought we would.
Fascinating use cases.
Yeah, and I think it's a brilliant point about simplicity. There's a big misconception with data analytics is that everything has to be rocket science, and it really doesn't. And sometimes you can get so much benefits for the business, actual benefits, even from the simpler stuff. It just comes down to quick wins, small stuff, get the foundation right, and then you can do so much exciting stuff. And also, I think to what you've said about the pen test scenario, I think that really builds a whole new level of trust between you and the client.
I just wanted to add, because I think there's some great insights coming out here, but what I think customers are really looking for more now than ever, because of the AI push and feeling like they're maybe getting left behind somewhat. Customers are sick of being told what to do. They actually want help acting on those things. It's not good enough to just say you should do these 5 things and then you'll be okay. What they actually need is a partner to help them along the way and take those proactive steps with them. And I think that's where some of the success that we're seeing is that partnership on that proactive journey.
That's actually where we see this evolve as well. Like when you look at AI and what that means is it's really easy to get technology to do more for you than ever before. So if you're looking at just the data that you hold and you go and ask an AI, give me an interesting trend out of this, you'll probably get an answer out of that. What can we tell a customer that they can't know themselves? That's value that we create with that data, and we can only create that with data and this strategy. It helps them shift and take action beyond just what they do with us. And that's really sticky, that's really powerful.
Again, it's yet another exciting part of the work because it's a creative one.
Very much like a partnership, right? Like you talk about what your vision is, you bring in with technologies, building blocks, as well as talk through the use cases, and then think about how best to get there and what are those uncharted waters that you can get through as well through this journey. Because ultimately you can find technology parity, right? So what is it that made you choose AWS and Intellias?
We've partnered with AWS for quite a long time now, and it's always been a very strong partnership. So we've always been supported very well, not just on the data side, but just on compute and infrastructure. So we've been working very closely together for a long time. So it was kind of the natural go-to for us. And that's one of the strengths of AWS as an organization with the breadth that they have. It very rarely happens that they say, oh, we have no one that knows about this, right? Intellias was recommended through AWS, and we quickly found that Intellias really prioritizes knowing what they're talking about. It's probably the best way to describe it. They come across very knowledgeable, but very in tune with what you want to deliver as a business. So it's not just we're going to take it away and do it for you. It's we're going to do this together. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And that really, really resonated with us.
Yeah. So tough customer keeps you on your toes, or you want more like them?
No, we do. We want more, I don't want to say customers, more partners looking to push us and think about the technologies that we need to deliver in that unified way. We're obviously bringing more and more to the table in terms of services and tools, but we need to make sure that they're going to into the right hands, that they're taking advantage of those capabilities. Things like SageMaker, a unified studio, that's been a long time. There's been a long journey to get to this stage, but it's been through the use of partners and customers testing and giving us feedback to get to the point where we have a unified studio where all customers, whether they're SQL analysts or they're data scientists, can come together and use data more efficiently. Amazon Bedrock is quite a big tool set, but things like knowledge base, they are the foundation of how customers are coming and using data. So bringing data together from unstructured or structured assets and being able to unify that in one place and then transform that data into insights, and then being able to use natural language, being able to have dashboards and insights generated in a couple of seconds compared to what analysts would have been doing 6 months ago.
I could talk to you for hours on this. It's so fascinating. Eugene, what's that next step that you're excited about in terms either of a use case or building something with GBG?
I think what truly matters is how it affects GBG's business. All kinds of new exciting analytics that would help their clients and also generate potentially new revenue streams and so on and so forth. So that's truly what's important here.
Thanks. Patrick, from your point of view, like final best practices that you can extrapolate from your experience with GBG that other large organizations and ISVs can use?
I think for all organizations, it's just about trying to be more proactive with their data. Everybody's struggling. Everybody has the same problems, no matter what company I talk to. Everybody has data quality issues, data governance challenges. But don't let those stop you from innovating. Stop thinking about what I can't do. Start thinking about what I can do. What business value can I deliver internally to my business, whether it's operational efficiencies, whether it's more opportunities to do more. But then how do I start to think about how do I do more for my customers? How do I help them create more opportunities? How do I help them? And I think that there's a snowball effect there when we start to think outside ourselves and think about how do we start to build that momentum with our customers, internally starts to follow, right? We start to get aligned, we start to push towards a common goal. And I think that's the main thing I would say to people. Don't get stuck on the data quality, data governance. Start to innovate, start to get your hands dirty with some of the technologies.
That is the goal, right? It's that on-demand, right now factor for our customers that makes it interesting. What is very exciting beyond that is we still have loads and loads that we can do. And every little bit that we add to this brings a new insight, a new idea about what we can do with it, or a new thing that we can say about data or ourselves or the customer's life with us. So there's so much more to do.
I wish you all the best on this journey. It sounds like a very exciting one, and I would love to catch up with you maybe a year later to see where you are on that journey. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for your very insightful point of view and for your great story as well. As you heard here, a data strategy can actually make or break your business opportunities in this AI everywhere era. And this is what we discussed here is exactly what we see in our research as well. And today's ISVs and the challenges they face and the vision they have is where an organization or an enterprise company is going to be in a year or 2 years' time. So it's a great opportunity to learn from where they are, what their vision is, how they are executing on that, and the partnerships that is built in terms of collaboration as well as those technology building blocks. And having that intent and culture right is quite important as well. So thank you so much for your time today.